Hey, it's Captain Matt, Boat Buyer's Secret Weapon. I'm here with South Carolina, North Carolina real estate agent Andy Reynolds, a good friend of mine for, when did I meet you? 15, 20 years ago, maybe?
Exactly.
Right here at Lake Wylie Marina, where we both sold boats at different times. Yeah. And this is his sidekick, Rudder. Andy's a lakefront specialist here, joining me on the YouTube channel, and wanted to talk about what you need to know about buying a lakefront home or a lake property here on Lake Wylie specifically, North or South Carolina. So Andy, thanks for joining us. I appreciate it. As we're talking about buying a place on Lake Wylie, whether it's lakefront, lake view, when you're working with your clients like you have been for the last 17 years, what are some of the things that you start to make sure you're on the right track? How do you do it?
So basically, we sit down and have a conversation with them, make sure we get everything that's going to be important to them. You know, do they want to have a pool? Do they want a main channel view? They're okay being in the cove? Are they okay with some steps down to the water? Or do they want a flat lot? What kind of boat do they have? Or if they don't have a boat, what kind of boat do they anticipate buying? Will they be able to get a dock to accommodate what they want to do? Is deep enough water at that dock? Is it going to be their primary residence or be a secondary home? Because that makes a big difference tax-wise here on Lake Wylie, whether you go to South Carolina or North Carolina.
It's almost like on my channel talking about buying a boat, I call it the 80% rule. Figure out what you're going to do 80% of the time and buy the boat for that. Having that brainstorming session, what is it going to look like for the next 5, 10, 15 years, helps you lead them to the right properties and avoid mistakes?
Sure. You know, there's all kind of theories, misconceptions they may have already in their mind, and say, hey, I want a sunset view, and I said, that's great, we can talk about that, but you know, have you ever thought about it? It's so hot in the afternoon from 2 o'clock to 6 o'clock till you get to that sunset view, you can't use the back of your house.
Yeah.
So I find most of my clients really prefer to face east, and that way they can use the backyard more in the afternoon. They're grilling, they got the pool out there, they're enjoying themselves, and you know, it's really comfortable sitting outside in the back in the evening.
See, this only comes from experience. This is the kind of stuff that you learn after you buy your lakefront home from somebody that didn't think about these things or hasn't gone through it. You've been a Lake Wylie guy since, I mean, you were born and raised.
My parents moved here in 1971. Dad said he was crazy. He sold a house in Greensboro, house, land, everything for $8,100, and came down here and bought a lake lot only for $9,600. In 1971, he said, I'm crazy. I wish you would have bought 20.
Yeah, you're crazy like a fox. That's like, that was a good move looking here in 2023. Yeah. So when you're working with an agent that grew up in the area, knows the lake like the back of their hand. We're on Andy's 34-foot Sea Ray here at Lake Wylie Marina. Your brother has a boat here. Like, they just know boating. Having that knowledge when you're sitting down in that early phase of what's right for us is critical. So what's the next step?
So basically, you know, like I said, get the ideas of what they're looking for. We pick out some properties. We'll go take a look, and that's a learning curve for them. You know, this is a big investment for them. I work with clients 2 and 3 years before they find the right place from out of town. And I set them up on a search, and I can tell you about that, whether it's deep water, shallow water, steep hill, got power lines in the view. Hey, can we build a dock we want here? And I can eliminate 90% of it, and you don't have to fly back into town.
Yeah.
But then, you know, I said, hey, you need to really, this is coming on the market, you're ready to get out here and see it, you know.
And you have your finger on the pulse of what's coming on the market next.
Exactly.
So you do it live from a beautiful view yesterday of a property that you just came available.
Yeah.
And you knew about it before virtually anybody else in the area. So having that inside knowledge and having the person you can trust on the ground that has the expertise. I didn't even think about flying in to look at a property because you're moving down here or getting a second home. Okay, so now you start zeroing in. Where do you go from there?
So basically, you know, a lot of people may be paying cash, you may be getting a loan, you need to go ahead and get pre-approved and get all that stuff out of the way, because these properties, when they come on the market, even right now, we've got 33 properties on Lake Wylie for sale on the entire lake and all price ranges. As of right now,
600 miles of shoreline and 33 properties, huh?
Yeah. So we're very low on inventory, so when the right one pops up, you need to be ready to pull the trigger.
Yeah, having everything in line,
Yeah.
having the insight. What's the market like right now? We're fall. It feels like winter. We're both shivering over here, sitting in the boat of 2023. What's the market like? Is it a frenzy? Are going for over asking price? What's that look like currently?
Sure. Right now, the sweet spot on Lake Wylie is that million to about $1.4 million. You know, if anything falls in there and it's got good deep water, there's 10 or 15 buyers out there searching right now. And you put a property on the market, you're going to get 10 showings right off the bat, get multiple offers, and it'll go for asking or more if it's priced right, that kind of thing.
Okay, interesting.
We're still selling properties, you know, $2 million plus properties. There's buyers out there, so the lake market is very strong.
Yeah. What about available lots? And we'll talk next about lake view. So you may not be lakefront, but there's also lake view. What's the difference there?
Yeah, so lakefront properties, you know, when I first got into business, 2007, there were like 166 waterfront lots for sale in Lake Wylie. I looked the other day, there were 28. And I'd say out of those 28, 2 of them were, you know, priced right or had decent water depth, still kind of steep,
yeah,
you know, shoreline. But
we were up towards Beaumont the other day, and I saw some land being cleared of lots that 20 years ago would never been considered to be cleared.
Exactly.
And now the prices have gone up and up. That all right, we'll start developing these, but it's getting pretty scarce out there for land. What about the lakefront, lake view? Like, what are the definitions and how do you kind of look at those?
Yes, when I call a waterfront lot, I'm talking about a dockable waterfront lot. You can get a dock for it, okay?
Yeah.
So there's all kind of regulations we have on Lake Wylie through Duke Energy and Lake Services of, you know, how much shoreline you have, whether you can even get a dock, and then if you can get one, our maximum square footage of dock space is 1,000 square feet. So, you know, there may be some lots that are lake view, meaning they butt up to the water, but maybe only have 50 feet of shoreline. You couldn't get a dock permit for that in today's world. So that's what they call a canoe lot or a kayak lot. You can launch your kayak canoe there.
You go for a swim, but that's it.
That's right. And then we have, you know, water view, which is basically going to be, you know, across the street from the water, probably the house on the other side, that kind of thing.
And there are some community docks for those type of lots.
There are several
spots.
Yeah, there's a couple communities on Lake Wylie, like River Point across from us right here. They have a community dock situation there. And then you got some stuff in River Hills that they have something marina in there that you might be able to get a slips a waiting list right now.
Okay.
Reflection Point has, you know, some community slips. So they're out there. They're just not a ton of them.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So all right. So now we're zeroing in on the house, whether it's waterfront, you know, water view, deep water, whatever you need. North Carolina, South Carolina. You got all these counties. You've got all these jurisdictions. Where do you go next, and does it matter where you're at?
Well, you know, I want to know if somebody's been thinking about putting a pool in, or is that important to them, because we're dealing with the lake properties. Most of them are outside of the subdivision, so you may not have county water and county sewer. So you're dealing with a well and septic. Very common in our area. I grew up on a well and septic all my life. Don't have a problem with wells going dry in our area, even when we had the droughts in 07 and 14. But septic systems have different regulations. So if you're on a, you know, Duke Energy did a good job dividing the lake up. They didn't give you 5 acres on the lake because they knew they could get 5 lots out of that. So you might have an acre, you might have 3/4 of an acre, but you're going to be around an acre. Okay, so if you're going to have a big house and then you're going to have a pool, you got to have room for the septic system, the 50-foot buffer, the 150-foot buffer, where you're at in the neighborhood, on the lake. So I need to know whether you're going to do a pool or not to make sure we can put a septic system on the property to make sure vision comes through all the way.
So that 5 years down the road, you're like, it's time to put the pool in.
Yeah.
Can't put the pool in.
Yeah,
or you got to move the septic. Maybe you don't have space. Maybe you do.
Yeah, because you got to have a repair area in our area if the original septic fails. So the county's going to really regulate you.
Are there much differences? I mean, we're in South Carolina. North Carolina's, you know, 200 yards across the lake here.
Yeah.
Differences in counties, in state that people need to think about, or is that really just a logistic thing that comes in later?
You know, it comes into play with taxes.
Okay.
More than anything. So in North Carolina, Mecklenburg, Gaston County, it really doesn't matter whether you have a primary home or second home, they tax it the same, okay? So in theory, let's say you had $1 million home on the North Carolina side of Lake Wylie, you know, taxes are probably going to be $10,000, $11,000 a year for that house, okay? In South Carolina, if it was your primary residence, it'd be about $5,500 to $6,000. But if it's not going to be your primary residence, they're going to tax it about 2.5 times. They consider it investment property.
Yeah.
So you're going to have a tax bill of $15,000 to $20,000.
Yeah.
So very, very important if it's going to be your primary residence or not. Yes, that goes for land. You know, while you own that lot right there, you know, you're going to be paying, you know, triple the taxes.
And when it's primary residence, like that's legit. You really have to be living there 6 months out of the year.
You know, register your cars here, your driver's license are here, you know, and you don't want to get caught. It's a big fine.
You're not skipping around that requirement just to save 15 grand.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
excellent. All right,
Yeah.
so you're at that point. What else is different or that you need to consider here on Lake Wylie because it's a lake home? I'm assuming people have bought property before, they're successful, they're enjoying their success with a lakefront home. What's different, if anything?
Dots to consider, tree management, you know, like I say, we have a 50-foot buffer around the lake. Certain neighborhoods are going to have a 100 to 150-foot buffer. You got to check those things out. But, you know, there's certain regulations on, you know, if a tree dies, if it falls in the lake, what you can do with it, what you can't do with it. Can you take a tree out that's in your view? Can you de-limb up? Those kind of things come into play. So, you know, it's not just, you need to be checking with the county that you're in, if you're in HOA, but there's a lot of restrictions.
Awesome. So if anybody's out there watching this video and thinking about, hey, I'm interested in getting a place on Lake Wylie, how can they get in touch and how else can you be of value to them?
Sure. You can reach me directly on my cell phone, 704-763-7196. So I'd love to have a conversation with you. You know, I've got connections with dock builders and Max father-in-law's in the dock building business. So, you know, I confide with him a lot on what the regulations are going and what's changing and stuff like that.
You just mentioned something, connections, that I want to touch on before we go, is when you buy a lake place, especially if you're out of the area or you're new to living on the lake, there's so many services that you're going to need, contacts, informations that you're going to need that, I mean, you've been here for 40, 50 years. Yeah. Leave it at that. I've been selling, you know, been in real estate for 17 years. So whether it's dock builders, whether it's the rules and regulations, whether it's dredging, riprap, dock building. I mean, there's so many different things.
I sold boats for 10 years. So
yeah, a boat.
People call me up and say, okay, we're ready to buy a boat, Andy. You go with us and tell us what to look for.
Yep.
So I've got connections for boat dealers. And,
yeah, if you need it and it's water related, this guy is going to know somebody that you can trust, somebody that's going to take good care of you. And that, to me, that's invaluable. You know, anybody can sell you a house, but do they know the area? Are they expert in waterfront? Are they expert on that particular lake that you're looking at?
Yep.
And then, you know, what type of connections do they have? So reach out to them. Can certainly look for properties, get you on that VIP list. Hey, what's coming available, and take good care of you. So thank you very much. This has been awesome.
Absolutely.
Hey, and also put this on your channel. I know we're doing this for my audience at Boat Buyer's Secret Weapon, but share it with your audience on your channel as well.
I appreciate that, Matt. Rudder gets a bone for every house we sell.
Yeah.
He wants you to buy a house.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I like my big bones.